As we head into Week 13 of the NFL season, the fantasy football landscape is starting to get a little more unpredictable. With teams dealing with injuries, some players losing motivation, and others gearing up for playoff pushes, it's essential to identify which defenses can provide solid returns. In this week's defense rankings, I've broken down the top plays to help you make the best decisions for your fantasy lineup. Starting at the top, the Houston Texans lead the pack this week. Despite the unfortunate injury to safety Jalen Pintre, who will be sidelined for multiple weeks, the Texans' defense remains a strong play. Their matchup against a struggling Jacksonville Jaguars offense makes them a top-tier choice. Even with a banged-up secondary, Houston's defense has been delivering impressive fantasy points, especially over the past 6 weeks. They rank first in fantasy points per game during that stretch, and if Trevor Lawrence plays, he may be limited due to injury, which should help the Texans hold firm. Another strong option comes from the Detroit Lions. Though they've been slightly affected by injuries to key players like Aiden Hutchinson, the Lions are still one of the top defenses to target this week. They face the Chicago Bears, a team that has consistently allowed fantasy points to opposing defenses. With the Bears struggling to protect cornerback Caleb Williams and relying heavily on screens and quick passes, the Lions' defense should be able to exploit these weaknesses and make a major impact. The Denver Broncos are also in a great spot this week, ranked as a Tier 2 defense. They've been averaging strong fantasy points lately and have been effective in getting to the quarterback and creating turnovers. Facing off against a Cleveland Browns offense that ranks poorly against opposing defenses, the Broncos could easily post a solid performance. However, keep an eye on their secondary, as injuries could affect their play. The Washington Commanders are another Tier 2 team worth considering for Week 13. Despite a lackluster performance last week, their matchup against the Tennessee Titans offers them a chance to bounce back. The Titans have allowed significant points to defenses recently, which should give the Commanders ample opportunity to rack up fantasy points. Their defense has been solid over the past 6 weeks, ranking well in both opponent scoring and turnover rate, making them a viable streaming option. On the other hand, some defenses should be approached with caution. For instance, the New England Patriots and Cleveland Browns both face tough matchups, which could limit their fantasy potential. The Patriots, in particular, face a Colts offense that has been slightly above average in protecting the quarterback and limiting turnovers. Similarly, while the Browns' defense has been solid, they face a tough Denver offense that ranks well in protecting their quarterback. Lastly, the teams to avoid this week include the Jacksonville Jaguars, San Francisco 49ers, and Atlanta Falcons. While these teams have had their moments during the season, they're currently in less than ideal spots and should be avoided unless you're in the deepest of leagues. The Jaguars' defense faces a tough Houston Texans offense, while the 49ers will be dealing with a Buffalo Bills offense that's been strong all season. The Falcons, on the other hand, just haven't been able to find consistent success defensively. So, Week 13 is shaping up to be an interesting one for fantasy football defenses. With several teams dealing with injuries and changes, the key is identifying those who have favorable matchups and strong underlying metrics. Stick to the top-tier defenses like Houston, Detroit, and Denver, and be cautious with the lower-tier teams unless absolutely necessary. As always, making the right call with your defense can make all the difference in a close fantasy matchup. Stay subscribed for more videos.